Hey everybody, it's John from Seattle Coffee Gear, back in the commercial kitchen. It's been a little bit since we've been in here. We've all been at home and then just haven't had a lot of commercial videos coming out. So excited to talk about this. Today we're going to talk about some tips and tricks for high volume settings, specifically during the holiday season, once it gets closer to Christmas and especially around Thanksgiving, which is right around when we're filming this. Is usually the peak season for a coffee shop. And so I thought I'd relay some of the things that I would show my baristas when I was managing coffee shops, and just some of the tips and tricks I would give them to help during those high volume situations so that they could keep a level head and get customers out the door quickly and efficiently without getting too stressed out, and also providing a great experience for the customers. I also have a few product tips that we'll talk about, but I'll save those for the end. So let's start out and just talk about some tips and tricks for busy holiday seasons. Here we go. The first tip that I want to talk about might not seem like a tip, and to a lot of people it might seem like something that is just a necessity that should always be happening, but it's related to station cleanliness. If you have a clean station, an organized station, it's going to be way easier to keep up with a rush if you know where everything is. Things are easy to grab and it's just neater. So the first part that's important with that is having your towels set up right. So I only have one towel here. I'm just using it for my portafilters. But typically you're going to have one towel for wiping out your portafilter. You're going to have a towel for your steam wand, either on a plate or something, but it's just going to be for your steam wand so you're not cross-contaminating. Then you're going to have a towel for your counter, and then I suggest having a towel for your drip tray as well. So when you get to your shift or you walk up to your bar, you're taking over for somebody, look at your towels, assess the way the bar looks, maybe get fresh towels or clean out your towels and just kind of reset the bar so then you're prepped for that rush. It might not be busy right when you start your shift, but you may end up in a situation where 20 minutes in, when you've been talking to your coworker, you didn't prep your bar and then you get slammed with a rush of people. Now you're in a bad position for that rush and it's not a good rush. You're stressed out, your customers can tell, your drink quality suffers. So that's my first tip, is right when you get in, set up your bar so you're able to keep it clean and neat. My ideal setup, like I said, is your one towel for your portafilter, a towel for your steam wand, a towel for the drip tray, and then a towel for the counter. That way, as you're making a drink, you're bringing your shot glass down, you can wipe out the drip tray real fast. Then you can also clean up spills on the counter really fast. If you're queuing paper cups on the counter, it's a good idea to keep the counter clean so then those paper cups aren't getting soggy on the bottom. Part of that bar setup is also making sure you have enough towels. So you're going to have your sanitizer bucket underneath the station. So make sure you have enough extra towels so that if you get to a point where you have to clean up a really big mess and your towel is now soaked in coffee and milk, you can set it on a back counter and grab a fresh towel and continue right away. Because when you get busy, that's probably when you're going to make mistakes. A drink spill is going to happen, an espresso spill is going to happen. You really need to be able to take care of those quickly and reset quickly so you can get back to your queue and making drinks. The next thing I want to talk about is communication. Talk to your baristas. Talk to who's working with you so you are in sync with what they're doing. If you're working with a barista you've worked with for a while, the odds are that you have a pretty good system of communication with them. Maybe you're pulling shots in there on milk, but either you're taking an order as the barista or the register is getting an order and the drinks are kind of flowing down the line. But talk with that person and tell them, I have a shot coming for this drink. Here's the modifications for this drink, just so you can communicate. If you can talk that out, it's going to be way easier to remember. And then that way, you're not constantly picking up the drinks and looking at them, because that's a waste of time. And also, it's going to get those cups dirty. If your hands are a little bit coffee stained, which you're working with coffee, it's going to happen. So communication is key when it gets to those busy times. Communication, another way that can help is by listening to what's being ordered at the register if your cafe is set up that way. So listen to what that next customer is ordering so you can kind of add it to your mental cue. If you're a good barista, if you've been doing it for a while, odds are that you can remember a good amount of drinks and you don't necessarily have to look at the labels. The coffee shop that I worked at for a while, for the first 2 years I worked there, we didn't have anybody writing things on the cups or using stickers. It was all mental. So there were times when we had to remember 10 drinks at a time without writing anything down. And you can do it without making mistakes. You just have to push yourself to get to that point and just try to remember without picking the cups up. Repeating things and talking to your barista who's working with you is a really good way to do that and to lock that in without having to try too hard. So talk to your barista, communicate, and then also listen to the customer if you can, so you kind of know what's coming, because then you can start pulling a shot, so then you can get that drink out more quickly. The next thing I want to talk about is if you have 2 people on bar, one of the things that I appreciated a lot is if I'm frothing milk and I have like a bunch of chais coming up or a bunch of non-coffee beverages, like maybe a lot of hot chocolates, and the person who's pulling shots, maybe they aren't pulling shots right at that moment. What I really appreciate is if that person grabs pitchers and then preps those pitchers for me. So they can grab, say, 2 20-ounce pitchers for the next chai and hot chocolate that I have coming along. They can prep those for me and kind of line them up. So then all I have to do is grab the next pitcher and start frothing that next pitcher of milk or of chai. And then I don't have to think about going into the fridge and prepping that drink or anything like that. So teamwork, and that's a really practical way that you can implement that. Just help your barista out so you can clear through that line faster and then start cleaning, reset, so you're ready for that next rush and you can crush that next rush. Those are a few of my tips, pretty high level, because a lot of the tips have to be kind of specific to the way your bar is set up. So also think about the way your bar flows. Are you taking the order from the customer and it's flowing down to the register? Are they ordering at the register, the drinks are flowing to you and then coming out the other side? Consider that if you're watching this video, you're probably either thinking about this already and looking for ways to improve yourself, or you're a cafe owner or manager and looking for some tips to help out your baristas with. So think about your cafe and then just think about how these tips could apply to your cafe. The next 2 things I want to talk about are things that are aimed at more at specialty level cafes. They can apply to places that aren't necessarily specialty focused, because a better cup of coffee is going to bring customers back all the time. A quick way to improve your drink consistency is just with a distribution tool. This costs $150. At least right now at the time of this video. That may change if you're watching this 2 or 3 years in the future, but this is the OCD distributor or distribution tool. You can adjust it. This one's pretty packed with coffee, so apparently I can't. But you can adjust it to change the depth of it. I'll change that off camera. But basically this just eliminates any inconsistencies in your dosing, because if you, for example, if I come here to the grinder, wipe out my portafilter, I have that on the wrong setting. If I come here to the grinder and I tamp this, there's going to be a greater density in the center than there is on the edges. So when water hits this, it's going to choose the path of least resistance, go to the edges, over-extract the edges, and under-extract the center of that pile. But if I take this, the ridges on this are designed to even out the distribution of grounds throughout the puck, so then water flows through it evenly and your shot is extracted more evenly. In the middle of a rush, all a barista then has to do is set this on the coffee, give it a few spins, and they're ready to go, and that is now pretty evenly distributed. There are other ways to do this. There's like the stock fleths, where you go around with your finger. You can do the tapping method where you go to the side, then straight down. You can do like the Weiss distribution method. There's a lot of ways to distribute, but this is definitely the easiest way to do it and train a lot of people on how to do it, because all those other methods factor in a lot of user error. So a tool like this is $150, but if this is the difference between a customer coming back for another drink or not, this can pay for itself really, really fast, especially during your busy times, because that's usually when you have new customers that are coming to your shop. If they have a bad experience, they may not come back. If they have a good experience, maybe they do come back in January or February, where you're typically slower. The next thing I want to talk about is for the cafes that are very, very busy or have high turnover. That's the puck press. For a while, the only automated tamping solutions were something like a Swift grinder from La Marzocco, or I'm sure there's another grinder out there, but like the dynametric tampers, those all have a lot of room for error, whereas something like this is pretty simple and pretty consistent. Obviously, the price tag on this is prohibitive for some smaller cafes, but if you're a large cafe that's doing a lot of volume, this can really help, because all you have to do, stick the portafilter in, pull it out, and you have a pretty darn level bed of coffee that you just tamped automatically. So the puck press and a distribution tool like this can be pretty killer tools to help with your consistency and also with your training to make sure you're pulling really tasty shots. So then you can have pretty much anybody working and also keeping up with that high volume, and then your quality doesn't slip. Even the best barista who has been working in coffee for years, has their tamp perfected. When they get to a busy rush, things get crazy. Quality is going to suffer because they're human. Can't fault them for that. That happens to me. It happens to the best baristas I know. You just get sloppy when you get busy. So having a system like this can help with that, and over time will pay for itself, even though the cost is higher up front. That covers 3 pretty simple tips that you can think about next time you're working on bar during a busy time, and then 2 items that you could purchase if you want to take your cafe to that next level of consistency during those busy times. Because again, you want to be able to bring those new customers back during the slow times so you can just help your business over the whole year. I hope this video was informative for you. If you have tips on how you keep yourself consistent and how you handle those busy times, leave us a comment down below. If we can help each other, that's great, and we might even make a follow-up video with some of your tips that you leave there. If you have questions about anything I talked about, leave us a comment. I'll do my best to jump in there and respond to you. If you have questions about coffee equipment, you can give me a call. Our number is 866-372-4734. We have a line for commercial equipment. If I'm not there, leave a voicemail. I'll call you back. But other than that, thank you for watching. Subscribe if you want to see more of our videos. Make sure to turn on notifications so you'll see when we post. And follow us on all our social media channels at Seattle Coffee Gear. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great holiday season.